Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Briar Greaves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on. So whether that is auto, homeowners, flood, boaters, or business insurance, there's nobody better in the business to work with than the great people over at Briar Greaves Insurance. For more information about them, you can visit their website, briargreavesinsurance.com, or give them a call at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. And make sure you give Briar Greaves Insurance a call and see how they can help you with your insurance needs, because all you got to do is call them, have a chat with them, and you will automatically be entered into a raffle to win free tickets in the lower bowl section of Raymond James Stadium for the Bucs Falcons Thursday night creamsicle game. A lot of drama about that game. No more Michael Penix Jr. We know what Kirk Cousins did to the Bucs last season. Kyle Trask is on the Falcons now. So it's definitely a game that you want to go to, especially because it could be one where the Bucs maybe clinch the NFC South. I know things haven't looked great lately, but you got to see how it all plays out. So, again, give BriarGreavesInsurance.com a call with their number, and you will automatically be entered into a raffle to win tickets to the Bucs-Falcons creamsicle game on Thursday night. Speaking of Thursdays, it's a Thursday edition of the Pewter Report podcast. We're going to talk more about the Bucs-Rams game. We're also going to answer some questions and comments from the Pewter people. Of course, Super Chats get to cut the line, so get those Super Chats in. We're going to talk about if the Bucs slide will continue, and of course, kind of recap what we saw from practice today and players we spoke to and coordinators we spoke to as well. So let's get into today's show. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my colleague and fellow co-host of the podcast, Adam Slice Levant, is back on the show. Hello, Adam. How we doing, my man?
Matt, we're doing good. It feels like forever since I've been on the show. I think it was the bye week was the last time. So it's great to kind of be back on. I wish it was under better circumstances for the Bucs, though. I mean, coming off back-to-back losses, and then everybody knows what's ahead of them this Sunday night, playing against the Rams. You know, you've looked at Todd Bowles each and every single year of his head coaching tenure, and there's been a slide, and not a good slide. It's been a slide down a lot of losses, and they're coming off 3 of 4 losses. It doesn't look too promising, and it's going to take an amazing effort, probably the best football the Bucs have played all season, to even have a chance in this one.
It's going to be all hands on deck, or at least it needs to be if they want to win this game. And you're right, it's not a good slide. It's not the cha-cha slide. It's not the electric slide. It's not Fleetwood Mac playing landslide.
Yeah.
It's a really, really bad slide. But at the same time, Adam, it's something that we're also oddly used to when it comes to Todd Bowles coaching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers since he's been their head coach. I mean, he took over as their head coach in 2022. That was Tom Brady's last season, and they had an 8-9 record overall. And this is where they had their best slide, I guess, but still not good, with a 3-game losing streak in weeks 6, 7, and 8 of that season. They lost to the Steelers, the Panthers, and the Ravens 3 games in a row. That season was so interesting for a number of reasons, but they went win-win, loss-loss, win, loss-loss-loss, win-win, loss. Like, it was a lot of like win-win, loss-loss. It was never like stacking a lot more together. So they started that season out 3-2 before getting into that losing streak. Then 2023, they began the season with a record of 3-1. Remember, they killed the Saints in New Orleans 26-9. Had the bye, came out with the creamsicle game against Detroit, and they lost against them, Atlanta, Buffalo, and Houston. Of course, the Texans game has been brought up recently with the way that the Bucs defense has played in recent weeks. So they went from 3-1 to 3-5 with that 4-game losing streak, and had lost 1, 2, 3, 4. They lost 5 at 6 in that span too, because they beat Tennessee and then lost to San Fran and the Colts. Then 2024, last season, they also lost 4 in a row after starting the season 4-2. They then lost to the Ravens in prime time, which was the Chris Godwin injury. Then they lost to the Falcons for the second time, Kansas City and San Francisco, and that all coincided with going into the bye week and then going into the winning streak. So the good side of it, though, is that they have been able to get into a winning streak after this big losing streak. But Adam, the Bucs are certainly not in unfamiliar territory, but are staring down the barrel of potentially another 3-game losing streak, which has happened at least once in every tenure and season that Todd Bowles has been the Bucs head coach.
And to me, when you mention all those years going through it, it happened in week 6 or 7 every single season that the slide occurred. And when you look at this game, Matt, it's just really hard to foresee how the Bucs win. I mean, they're battling injuries. Everybody knows this, but also illness. A lot of guys, a lot of coaches around the building are getting sick. And then they're facing the best opponent yet, a team that's really hitting its stride on offense and defense, talking about the Rams. I mean, they've won 5 straight, averaging 29.8 points per game, but only giving up 13 points per game. Like, that's an insane differential. So you take that, and then you're also going across the country. The Bucs don't seem to really do well when they go across the country. Everybody remembers 2022 when they played the 49ers, Brock Purdy's first game. You know, they traveled there and then they lost 35-7. So, like, I don't know. Everything, when you look at it, it sides with the Rams. And, like, the Bucs right now, I think more than ever this season at least, are the underdog. Like, everybody's looking at this game and thinking, man, how did the Bucs win it? And frankly, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll talk more about those matchups in just a moment. I did want to get to this comment from Hezo813, who's also a Pewter Report YouTube channel member, who has a good question. What's the longest streak in the Bowles era? Is it 3? So 3 is definitely up there because that's what they also did this season, winning their first 3 games. But just kind of looking real quick at the history of Todd Bowles as the Bucs head coach. The most they had in 2022 was just 2 wins in a row. They had 4 wins in a row in 2023 from December 3rd until Christmas Eve, December 24th. They beat Carolina, Atlanta, Green Bay, and Jacksonville. So, yeah, that was a hell of a run. Green Bay was that great game by Baker. You were at it, Adam, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he had a perfect passer rating at Lambeau Field, like only the second quarterback to ever do that. That really put him on the map, too, I would say.
It absolutely did. Baker had a huge game. Rachaad White had that big catch and run for a touchdown. And then Christmas Eve, they just absolutely clobbered the Jacksonville Jaguars. They won 30-12. Trevor Lawrence, there was a big question of whether or not he was going to play in the game at all. And then last season, they also had a 4-game winning streak. After that 4-game losing streak, they came out of the bye. They beat the Giants in New York, which was big because Baker did the Tommy DeVito celebration, getting in the end zone. Then they beat Carolina in overtime. That was the big Anthony Nelson forced fumble on Chuba Hubbard in OT. Then they beat the Raiders 28-13. Tyke Smith had an interception. And then it was that big win against the Chargers in LA. Mike Evans had a huge, gigantic game, and that's when they stubbed their toe against Dallas the week after. So to answer Hezo's question, the biggest win streak the Bucs have had is 4, which they did twice in 2023 and 2024. But a good question, because I wasn't 100% sure about that either. And then just kind of, again, we're kind of jumping around everywhere here, but it does look like it could be a 3-game losing streak. But after that, you got games against Arizona, New Orleans, Atlanta, Carolina, Miami, and then Carolina again. The Panthers at this point, I honestly don't know what to expect, just kind of given how they'll beat the Packers in Green Bay and then lose to the Saints as well. But certainly Arizona, New Orleans, Atlanta with Kirk Cousins playing, unless he just truly proves that he's the Bucs' kryptonite, they could rattle off a 3-game winning streak right after that.
Yeah, I definitely see it that way. And just kind of touching on Carolina for a second, it took 440-something yards by Bryce Young to barely beat the Falcons. And the Falcons, I mean, Kirk Cousins, he did them dirty last year. But when you look at it, unless he kind of goes on a Joe Flacco kind of run where he just comes in and he just starts balling out, it's really hard to foresee him really going off. But at the same time, Cousins in there versus Penix, it does kind of bring back some bad memories. But when you look at it, the schedule really gets easier after the Rams game, if that's the silver lining, if the Bucs are standing at 6-5. Because, I mean, the Cardinals, they're rocking with Jacoby Brissett. The Saints are Tyler Shuck. I mean, all the teams that they're playing the next 3 games, they have a different quarterback than week 1. So, I mean, it's a really favorable stretch for Tampa Bay. But, man, they need to get rolling if it's not on Sunday night.
They certainly have the quarterback advantage in these next coming games after the Los Angeles Rams, but they do not have the quarterback advantage playing against the Los Angeles Rams. And that's not even a knock at Baker Mayfield. But Matthew Stafford, I mean, when it's all said and done, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And it was crazy because I just saw the stat the other day that I guess with this most recent win for the Rams over the Seahawks, which was a really good game. It was a great defensive game by LA. The Seahawks actually had a chance to win it at the end. They tried a 60-plus yard field goal, and they unfortunately weren't able to hit it. But that win for the Rams and Matthew Stafford finally gave Matthew Stafford a winning record as a starting quarterback. I don't have the info in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he's 116, 115, and 1 tie, which is just crazy to think about how bad those Detroit Lions teams were, which is even crazier because you think you had Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson on the same team, and yet, they're at the bottom of the barrel of the NFC North each season. I guess when you have to go up against Brett Favre and then Aaron Rodgers for several years, that definitely makes it quite difficult. But yeah, Matthew Stafford worries me too. And you talk about the matchups offensively and defensively. Since we're talking about Matthew Stafford, he's coming off of somewhat of a poor game against Seattle where he only had 2 passing touchdowns. And the reason why I say it's somewhat pedestrian is because the previous 3 games he had 4 touchdown passes, and 5 touchdown passes. So when you're playing at a Herculean effort like that, you kind of come back to normality a little bit. But the way that the Bucs have played defensively over the past couple of weeks, especially since coming out of the bye, this looks like another game where 4 touchdowns for Matthew Stafford doesn't really seem out of control, which is a daunting thing to say about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and a Todd Bowles run defense.
Yeah, and it's very realistic because, you look at Josh Allen, what he did last week. He had 6 total touchdowns. And what I'll say about Stafford is, living up in Wisconsin, watching the Packers every year, Stafford carried, Rodgers carried some bad Packers teams. Stafford carried some horrific Lions teams. And I think there was one year, 2015 or 2016, he somehow led them to the wild card game. And I think that Stafford for a long time has been one of the most underrated, underappreciated quarterbacks in football, because in 2022, when Mayfield had his chance, that was because Stafford was trying to get through a really bad injury. He's a really tough quarterback. And it says something that after all his back injuries or talks about him retiring or being traded before the season, you're looking at him now and he's an MVP at 37 years old. 27 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. That's astounding. And he has all that production partly because he has Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams to throw the football to. And I was watching the Rondé Barber show.
Yes.
That comes out every Wednesday. It's a great watch. Nacua has 87 targets this year. He's caught 73 of them. That's 83.9%. Mike Evans, on a good year, he catches maybe 60% of the passes thrown his way.
Right.
And then Devontae, he's caught 43 of 86. So that just speaks to the efficiency of Nacua really getting them down the field. And then Devontae has 10 touchdowns. So those 2 wide receivers right there, I would say are the best wide receiver duo in all of football right now. And it just makes Stafford's life so much easier. They have a really good running back duo and Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. And then you have Stafford running the show. Come on. It would be surprising if the Rams don't score 30 points this week.
Which would be, if they do score 30 points, because the Bucs allowed 72 points in their last 2 games coming out of the bye. So by doing math, and I'm not a math guy, but that math would check out to over 100 points allowed in 3 games, which is, again, just horrifying for a Todd Bowles team that prides itself on hey, you're a defensive head coach. You should be making stops and getting the job done defensively. And this wide receiver combo, I mean, yeah, they have talent everywhere. To your point, Kyron Williams, excuse me, he's 9th in the league in rushing yards. And this is a team that wants to throw it with Matthew Stafford. And it's scary because it started out a little bit slow for Davante Adams. And I'm kicking myself because in the first round, actually second round of my fantasy football draft, I was torn between A.J. Brown and Davante Adams. And I went with A.J. Brown, and anyone that's paid attention to the league knows what's going on with A.J. Brown. But Davante Adams has been incredible with all these touchdowns. And he gets compared to Mike Evans a lot because I think they came out at the same time or they're only a year apart. And and they're a similar age. And Davante Adams is doing what Mike Evans has done for several years with the Bucs, but for Adams with the Rams of just, Mike will be productive throughout the whole game and, from all 99 yards of the field. But, in the red zone, bam, Mike's getting the football. And that's why, last year he was tied for the league lead in touchdowns and he's constantly getting double digits. The Rams know they don't have to get Davante Adams the ball in between the 20s. They can if they want to. But once they get into that red zone, it's a gigantic advantage for them, especially because Puka Nacua is out of this world with his production, with what he's been able to do. He's one of the most exciting players in the league. Easy to root for as well because he's just like so happy, always in a good mood. I guess you're in a good mood if you're just balling out at wide receiver, getting at an all-pro level and stuff like that. But you talked about the matchups before, Adam, and this could not be a worse time for the Bucs going into this game against the Rams, and not just because they've looked so bad defensively. I mean, if they don't have Jamel Dean, you're either going to have Benjamin Morrison on the outside, who's just been picked on the last 2 weeks, and rightfully so, or something that we've talked about, something that George Edwards kind of mentioned today, that they're rummaging through it, thinking about doing it with putting Jacob Parrish at outside corner. I like that idea, and I'm a fan of Jacob Parrish, but you got to know the Rams are going to put him in a situation where it's Davante Adams against Jacob Parrish in the red zone. And we spoke to Jacob Parrish today. He's a really good player for the Bucs, and he's been such an exciting sensation as a rookie corner. But Davante Adams is like 20 feet taller than Jacob Parrish. You could just throw the fade into the corner of the end zone, and bam, that's a touchdown for the Rams. And the reason why I bring that up as well, because if Jamel Dean isn't able to go, Zion McCollum has been playing some of his worst football he's ever had over the last 2 weeks. He hasn't played this bad since he was a rookie. And when he was a rookie, one, you can understand he is a rookie. And two, the big things were that he was like missing tackles and stuff like that. Now he's missing some tackles, but mainly he's just getting off of his reads and getting away from the fundamentals that made him such a good corner. So that's a terrifying look for Tampa Bay when you have a struggling Zion McCollum and then Jacob Parrish, who's good in the slot, is fine outside, but that height advantage that Davante Adams will have against him just makes it, as lopsided as it could possibly be. I mean, I guess you could throw Kindle Vildor in there, but I don't know if that's the right idea either.
This is not the right time for the Bucs to be patching together the cornerback room. That's all I'll say. I mean, like Nacua and Adams, like I saw Adams for years. Like he builds like an unfathomable chemistry with his quarterback. Like for years with Aaron Rodgers, even with Derek Carr when he teamed up with him with the Raiders, and then with Matthew Stafford now. I mean, he's one of the savviest route runners in all of football. You can compare him to Mike in that regard, and you're going to put either way, if it's Parrish or if it's Morrison, a rookie on him. I mean, he's going to cook all throughout the game. And then, I mean, with Nacua and McCollum, it's really surprising for McCollum because everyone was expecting him to take this year 4 leap to become that number one corner. Tampa Bay paid him to be that guy, and he just isn't right now. And it's really surprising because, like, he's slow getting off of breaks. He's allowing completions. He's not making tackles. And he's like as elite as they come athletically. And he has all the tools to be the shutdown guy, and he isn't right now. So I think when you look at it, and we going back to Stafford, he knows how to throw the football. He knows how to put it anywhere. He knows how to throw those no-look passes, and he's going to make Tampa Bay's secondary look foolish on Sunday if they don't figure it out with the cornerback room. And the other thing I'll say is with Parrish, he's a really good nickel corner this year. But if you put him on the outside, is he going to be as good out there? I mean, his strength is in the slot. You kick him outside, he might get burned.
He does have a little experience, at least because he played outside in Seattle, which probably isn't the best example because they allowed 35 points against Seattle. But he did play outside at Seattle when Dean was hurt, and then McCollum was injured the following week, and he played outside there. So I'm not saying it's going to work, but he at least has like a little bit of experience there. We're going to talk about some of the injuries with the Bucs in a second, but we also got a super chat that we have to get to. First of all, thank you to Monster Jam Fever for becoming a Pewter Report YouTube channel member. We really, really appreciate you. And then we have a $5 super chat from K Leard 2. So thank you so much, K Leard 2, who says the Bucs slide will definitely continue. It's just par for the course of a Todd Bowles team. Todd Bowles led team. We highlighted the overall peaks and valleys earlier on the show, but just to add a little bit more to that as well, I think there has been a lot of good from Todd Bowles in terms of, certain boxes that I think he needed to check off. And for the beginning of the year, things were going the right way. In-game management, he hired Zach Beislein. Everybody's talking about Zach Beislein. It was working really well up until deciding not to go for it on 4th and 2. The defense, it looked like it had been figured out. You saw a great performance against the Saints. You saw what they did against the San Francisco 49ers with all the turnovers and the sacks on Mac Jones. Again, I checked that box. Now I wish I checked that box with a pencil instead of a pen so I can kind of get the eraser. And then the other big thing for me also was beating some of the good teams and winning in primetime. So they won in primetime. It was a good win over the Texans. We didn't know the Texans were going to, falter like they have, and they got a game tonight against Buffalo, so we'll see. But then they go and lose to Detroit and pretty much play a non-competitive game against Detroit as well on Monday Night Football. So it's like all these things, it's like, okay, he reached it, but then immediately, it's like he crossed the finish line and then decided to go back against it's almost like playing Mario Kart if you want to screw around a little bit more. So that concerns me in terms of the last box that I think need to be checked for Todd Bowles was avoiding these big losing streaks. And will we be having the same conversation right now if when Baker Mayfield had the ball against New England in the fourth quarter with a chance to take the lead and they did make that comeback? No, we're probably not saying, oh my God, the Bucs, this losing streak and everything like that. But that's the reality that we're in, is because that the Bucs just can't win the big games, and now they're looking at a 3-game losing streak. Not to mention they've lost 3 of 4, I think, going back to even before the bye. So they're not playing good football right now. They have the ability to turn it around, but it's a commonality that we've seen from Todd Bowles. And, earlier in the year, the Bucs lost to the Eagles. And in practice and talking to Bowles and everything like that, they look like an angry group. They look like they let one get away against Philadelphia. It feels like everyone's been very calm, cool, and collected. Like they were more angry last week. Obviously, Baker, after the Patriots game, was calling a lot of people out and himself out. And I don't know if it's because the offense played better, but I don't know. Everyone's pretty relaxed. And I'm not saying it's bad, but I was just a little surprised by the fact that they just got beat by 2 really good teams that got beaten pretty badly, at least in one phase of the game. I would like to see a little more, a little more juice in these locker room sessions and speaking to coaches and stuff like that. But I didn't really see it. But what you gather from it?
Matt, I just want to say that you're making some great points here. And the first thing I'll say is when you're talking about like Todd Bowles and this year's team, it feels like in some areas they took 2 steps forward. Other areas they took 2 steps back. And I think that starts like when you look at the secondary's like on paper playing really well. I mean, you have 5 players playing some good football. Zion McCollum, he's still solid. Jamel Dean is playing out of his mind. You have Antoine Winfield Jr., Tyke Smith, and Jacob Parrish. Like, that's a really good group of guys. They have 10 interceptions this year, which is already more than last year when they had 7. So they made a stride there. Hiring Zach Beislein, has helped the game management up until last week. But before that, you and Scott were talking about it. You can't really point to a moment where Todd Bowles made a bad decision before not electing to go for it on 4th down last week. So I feel like there are areas where Bowles has continued to grow, but at the same time, just as you think this is a great football team, they're hitting their stride, they're 5-1, they're reverting, and they're kind of going back to being a good football team. And, things can be said about the injuries, but there's no excuses when it comes to the defense. I mean, it's inexcusable when you're allowing 28 points to the Patriots and then 44 points, the worst performance by a Bulls defense since he's been in Tampa Bay. So, I mean, they're taking steps back right now, and it's not a good time because they're playing up against 3 really MVP caliber quarterbacks. I mean, Drake May, and then they ran into Josh Allen. Now you're running into Matthew Stafford at the worst time. So right now it's looking bleak. You can look at it maybe getting a little bit more positive down the stretch, but does beating the Cardinals really provide hope? What about the Saints? I mean, that surely they'll win, right? You hope.
Yeah.
And they kind of get some wins down the stretch before the playoffs. But again, this is the same song and dance as it was a couple years ago, where you're facing the best of the best. You're facing these playoff teams and you're just faltering in the moment. And I think that goes back to like your second point when you're talking about a lack of juice. There's a lack of fight. Like there's not a fire starter in the front 7 on defense. I think Scott hit it on the head in the roundtable about the issues going on right now. Like, is Yaya Diaby going to be that alpha dog? I mean, Hassan Reddick is out and that hurts, but there isn't that guy that's kind of going to be that asshole that really, gets in the middle of the group, middle of the huddle and be like, come on, guys, we need to go. We need to go and start, juicing them up. However, they just don't have that right now.
No, they don't have anyone that's aggressive enough, especially on the defensive side. And you kind of need everyone. You need someone to step up. And he's 813 says, preach, Sly. So, yeah, definitely a good rant right there. Another super chat to get to is Bucs Basement. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Says, what parlays do you have for the game? So I'll give out more of the parlays at Pewter Picks and Props, which I'll have that show either Friday or Saturday. I'll have my picks for tonight's game on Thursday Night Football a little bit after the Pewter Report podcast. What I will tell you, though, is take Matthew Stafford over on the passing yards and take Matthew Stafford over on his touchdowns, which will either be 1.5 or 2.5, because I truly, truly think, and I hope I'm wrong, but I truly think this is going to be another disaster for the Bucs. So I would definitely take Matthew Stafford on the passing yards and the touchdowns. I also think it probably would be a good idea. I hit this bet last week. I did under on passing attempts for Baker Mayfield because that for me, it was more of a factor of the weather in Buffalo with the wind and the fact that they'll be able to run it against Buffalo, and that's pretty much how it played out. His over-under on passing attempts was 31.5. He had 28. But as we've seen with the Bucs, if they get down, and this isn't really just a Bucs-specific thing, it's football. If you're down by like 3 scores in the second half, you got to start throwing. So
yeah,
let me see what Baker's, if they have it out just yet. But Baker's passing attempts will probably be around 34, if I had to guess. I would probably take the passing attempts because if they're going to be down 20 to the Rams in that, middle of third quarter, fourth quarter, he's going to have to throw the football. And the Bucs don't want to do that because remember, against the Lions, they threw it 50 times and they only scored 9 points in that game. Passing attempts, Baker, right now it's at 34.5. I would probably take over 34.5 if you think that the Bucs are going to get shellacked by the Rams, because to me, if the Bucs keep it close, it's going to be because they are hammering it in the running game with Rashad White and Shawn Tucker, who we'll talk about in just a moment. But speaking of all these picks and parlays, you can make a bunch of quick picks and win a lot of money over at Splash Sports, which is the official daily fantasy app of PewterReport.com. You can join over 2.5 million people playing on Splash Sports. It's the home for Survivor, Pick'em, and Quick Picks. Whether you want to create your own contest with friends or take a shot at life-changing prize pools, Splash Sports has you covered. You can do week-to-week prizes and pools, which is so much fun. You could do a pick 'em this week, and it's just for 1 week. $10, you can win $1,000. You can also do stuff like this in the NHL and the NBA, and obviously baseball's not going on right now. But when baseball returns, you could do it there too. I think they have it for a couple of other sports as well. So you're not going to get better matchup boost than you can with Splash Sports. They're also doing right now a $5 no sweat bet if you sign up for Splash Sports. You got the QR code on the screen. You can download the app. They do a lot of Monday night boost for the Monday night games. You got the Thursday night boost tonight as well for Bills and Texans. You can turn $20 into $1,000 with the best multipliers in daily fantasy sports. So make sure you download the Splash Sports app today. Get those quick picks in. They have it for college football as well, and you can do it for the Bucs-Rams game and tail my picks on Pewter Picks and Props. So shout out to Splash Sports. The other big news out there today, we spoke to offensive coordinator Josh Grizzard, who had some good stuff to say about Shawn Tucker. Now, obviously, Shawn Tucker was incredible, was fantastic against Buffalo on Sunday. 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards on the ground, getting it done in the passing game as well. And there's been a lot of conversations about, is Shawn Tucker, is he going to be used more? Is he going to be featured more? Todd Bowles is pretty meh on it, said we're going to ride the hot hand. But Josh Grizzard had something a little bit different today when asked about it. This is what Grizzard had to say. He goes, even 2 to 3 weeks ago, when I think the question was posed in here on that topic, he had been doing a good job, and he continues to play better, talking about Shawn Tucker. I think you see in the game, he had 19 carries, and Rashad had 10 or so. Without giving away a competitive disadvantage in terms of those guys' roles, I think what Shawn has proven is that he deserves more carries. From the time that he's been playing more with Bucky Irving out, he's really gotten more carries essentially each week. And I expect that to continue because he's played really well. And Rashad did as well. I think it was over 5 a clip for Rachaad White. It was actually 5.1. So when both those guys are going, you can really have a two-headed monster when it comes to that, then it's a really good thing for the Bucs. I think this is music to every Bucs fan's ears. I mean, we've been talking about it for several weeks now, that Shawn Tucker needs to get more touches because he just has more explosive plays. And when you're going to need every explosive play possible against this Rams defense, it's not a good time for the Bucs defense against the Rams offense, but it is a good time to get Shawn Tucker more rushing attempts on Sunday night.
And it's also music to Cusa's ears, the Tuckster.
Yes.
And what Shawn Tucker did is, it's incredible because in both games, the best games of his career, last year against the Saints, this year against the Bills, he only played 44.3% of snaps in the last game. And then going back last year against the Saints, he did so much damage, but he only played 37.7% of the snaps. So, like, he's not even, the running back one right now. Rachaad White is still getting a lot more snaps because of being a receiving back, being a pass protector. But there's no doubt right now that Shawn Tucker is the best pure runner in the backfield. And when you look at it, and the Bucs have dealt with injuries on offense, Shawn Tucker is one of the best offensive weapons that they have. I mean, Ibuka, he's up there. Rachaad White, he has his usefulness. But Shawn Tucker, he's just so explosive, so dynamic that he has to be that guy. Even when Bucky Irving returns and he offers that elusiveness, Shawn Tucker has to get like 10 snaps a game, right?
I think he's got to get 20. Oh, well, snaps-wise, I think he's got to get 20 rushing attempts. He was at 19. And ultimately, like, if Rachaad White's in for the first snap of the game, but Shawn Tucker gets 25 rushing attempts, who cares that technically Rachaad White was the starter? Because it's about who's the most productive and who plays more snaps. And Shawn Tucker has closed the gap on Rachaad White in terms of, like, just the amount of snaps that were given. It was 44% for Shawn Tucker. That was 14% more than the week before. And I love the idea of Shawn Tucker being your first and second down guy, maybe sometimes all three downs, and then Rachaad White comes into the game on third down. Now, if they're both running well at the same time, that's definitely way more important for this team. But I just think going up against this Rams team, we just talked about the Rams offense and how explosive they can be. I would love for the Bucs to dominate the time of possession in this game. I want that if the Bucs only end up scoring, let's just say like 24 points, but they do it on 6 drives or 7 drives, whatever the case may be, because they are taking long, methodical, sustained drives that, maybe takes 7 minutes to score and takes up pretty much half a quarter. But if they're doing it by running the ball, getting themselves into third and shorts, and not allowing an aggressive and a really good, front pass rushing group for the Rams and a secondary that can certainly take the ball away, I think they have to lean on Shawn Tucker and Rachaad White, but Shawn Tucker a lot in this game. And also play to your strengths running the football. The Bucs have not done a good job running up the gut. All right. They don't have Mike Allstott back there. Graham Barton has played much better since coming out of the bye, but he's not being mistaken for Ryan Jensen or anything like that. The Bucs have struggled in short yardage situations running up the gut. Now, on the flip side, where they've been spectacular is getting the big caboose to the right of Shawn Tucker in this picture right there, getting Tristan Wirfs out in space. Obviously, he's their left tackle, but they'll pull him to the right side. Pitches to the outside, running outside of the tackles, have been a strength for the Bucs, and that's why Shawn Tucker ripped off that 43-yard run for one of his 3 touchdowns in the game. At some point, you do have to run in between the tackles. Obviously, that's just how football goes, and you'll game plan it. And I actually think Rachaad White's been better inside the tackles versus Shawn Tucker outside of the tackles. But they got to stay creative running the football. They got to stay consistent running the football. And most weeks, if you score over 30 points like they did against Buffalo, they should win. I don't know about the Rams because their offense has been such a fantastic group. But it's got to be the Shawn Tucker show, in my opinion, on Sunday. And it was great to hear Josh Broussard talk about more touches and more usage for Shawn Tucker in this game.
Yeah, and you're spot on when it comes to the Bucs' success running the football. It has been on the outside, and I think that stems from losing Cody Mauch for the season. Like they're on their 4th right guard right now. Michael Jordan has played the past couple games at left guard, filling in for Ben Bredesen, and then you spoke on Graham Barton, who, while playing better, isn't quite yet that Pro Bowl center. So the interior is kind of weak, but when you have Tristan Wirfs on one side and Luke Gedeke on the other, 2 really above average tackles, you're able to kick it outside. And then Shawn Tucker is the most explosive back right now. He has that 4.3 speed where as soon as you get it out to him, he's running his fastest speed. And then, Tristan Wirfs, he was kind of joking this week that when Shawn Tucker's at his slowest is when Tristan Wirfs is at his fastest. Just kind of comparing that. But I think that's really the recipe for success because they want to control the time of possession. They don't want to give Matthew Stafford too many opportunities to put up points because the Rams will. The Rams have simply embarrassed other teams. And for Todd Bowles, earlier this week, he's like, every loss is embarrassing. We're kind of embarrassed right now. They don't want that to happen again.
Yeah, and they probably should be embarrassed. I think that inspires chips on the shoulders and kind of getting back to what you were is by, being embarrassed by something. You got to go and prove people wrong. And I don't think there's any better time than doing it against the Rams. It's not going to be easy by any means. And I don't know if a moral victory would do wonders, but if the Bucs can keep it close against LA, I think it, might catapult them for these next couple games coming out of it as well. By the way, Ryan Greeno with the Greeno 8604 says, are we going to talk about Bucky? I meant to get into the injuries. I apologize about that. So there's been an illness going around the building. This doesn't affect Bucky, but there were several coaches that missed Wednesday's practice. And again, we didn't get the injury report until after the show was done because the Rams are on the West Coast and there's a 3-hour difference. But players that were affected by getting sick was Graham Barton, Ibuka, Dan Feeney, Luke Gedeke, Logan Hall. Baker Mayfield was on that list, but we spoke to him at the podium, so I don't think he was too bad. They were all practicing today, and they were limited in their participation with that illness. So bug has been going around. It seems like everyone has been good enough at least to go out and practice. So that part is good. Bucky Irving did practice yesterday, and he was out there today. Chris Godwin Jr. was out there. He was limited in practice as well. Ben Bredesen, they listed him as did not participate yesterday. He was practicing today. And then also Chris Braswell, they listed him as did not practice. He was out there at practice as well. So the big things with the injuries is Ben Bredesen, Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin Jr., and Jamel Dean. Dean he didn't practice. He was out there just kind of standing on the sidelines, but was not participating in any type of capacity. As it comes to Bucky and Chris Godwin Jr., from what we've been told, and we haven't been told much, is because there's been mum is the word about Bucky Irving. A lot of people inside the organization are just not talking about what's going on with Bucky. And he was there today. He was running around. He was in the locker room for a little bit as well. But kind of just based on some comments made by Todd Bowles, I don't think Bucky or Chris Godwin Jr. are going to be ready for this game. I think Ben Bredesen may have a chance to play, which would be big for this team, and just typical offensive lineman just being able to gut it out in a really important game. But I get the feeling, and we'll see what the injury report is later tonight. It'll probably be out around 7-ish, depending on when the Rams send it out. But I have a feeling it's going to be no Bucky. I mean, Bucky will be like practicing, but for the game, no Bucky, no Chris Godwin Jr., and probably no Jamel Dean either. And haven't seen Hassan Reddick out there. At this point, I'm not expecting Hassan Reddick until maybe after that Thursday night game against Atlanta. I could be wrong. He could be out there like next week. But yeah, outside of Ben Bredesen, there's not a lot of positive news when it comes to the Bucs injury front.
There's not. And for Todd Bowles yesterday, he was like, today and tomorrow, referring to Friday's practice, are going to be very telling for like the status of all those guys, Bucky, Chris, Hassan, Ben Bredesen. But until we see more from Bucky and Chris, I don't expect them to play, because Bucky, he can run around, like his foot injury is fine, but is he going to be able to take a hit with that shoulder injury? And I think that shoulder injury is more severe than they're letting on, obviously, because we're going back to like week 5, and they're like, oh, he'll be back week 6, week 7. And then slowly it just kind of, it's been progressing, and that's been snowballing, the injuries, because like we just haven't heard anything. And with Godwin and with Irving, Todd Bowles is like, oh, they're ramping up, but they're still not going to be ready for game action. And even if they are, Matt, like they're not going to be going out there playing 50 snaps. And that is what Grizzard said today. When they are healthy, they might play 20, 30%, because it's been so long since they've been on the NFL field. And from a conditioning standpoint, it's still going to take them a little bit to get up to speed.
Yeah, and adding in how good Shawn Tucker was last game, not until next season or maybe the postseason, I don't want to see Bucky playing at, 70% of the snaps and stuff like that. He's a smaller guy, and he is injury prone. I know he really didn't miss a game last season, but he had that chronic toe injury, and the nature of the position, you're going to get hit a lot. I would love to see Bucky this season. And what's difficult too is, since it's more the shoulder that's bothering him than the ankle at this point, there's not a lot of contact that goes on in practice anymore. So I don't know how you like test out the shoulder injury except for playing in the game. It's not like he's going to run through, a couple of hurdles and the coach is going to hit him with pads on the side. But at the same time, you kind of need to get hit to know that you're good to go. You wish you had Bucky. He's the best running back they have, even with what Shawn Tucker has been doing. But I think they have enough at the running back position to truly overcome it. I think they kind of need Chris Godwin a little bit more right now than Bucky Irving, just kind of based on all the coverage and attention that's going to be paid to on Ibuka. Sterling Shepard's, stepped up last game, but it wasn't like he had a dominant performance or anything like that. He had some big third down catches. And Tez Johnson, I think we're seeing flashes of an exciting player, but he's a 7th-round pick for a reason. He's going to have great moments like against San Fran, and 2 touchdowns against the Patriots was nice, but then you're also going to have what he did last game against Buffalo, which was essentially nothing. So it's kind of tough to predict what you're going to get from Tez Johnson week in and week out versus Chris Godwin. He's been in this league a long time, and even though he wasn't spectacular against the Eagles or the Seahawks in the 2 games that he's played, I think merely just having his presence out there, does a lot for this team. They're going to have to find different ways to get it done in the passing game because it can't just be all of Ibuka unless they're going to run the ball so much that, it's going to be a 3rd and 3, a 3rd and 4 every time they have the ball.
Yeah, and based right now on where the offense is, and you're seeing Shawn Tucker and Rachaad White have so much success, you don't really need Bucky Irving right now, and you definitely don't need to rush Bucky right now. But when you talk about Chris Godwin Jr., like just even being out there, like in week 4 against the Eagles, he only caught 4 passes, but he had 10 targets. Like just drawing the attention away from Ibuka enough to where when you throw it to Ibuka, he's going to not be double teamed. Like they'll still have to pay attention to Chris Godwin Jr. based on what he's done in the league. And when you look at Sterling Shepard, Tez Johnson, Ryan Miller, like those are role players. Like they're really good role players and they serve a purpose. Yeah. But trusting them to be wide receiver 2 right now, like Tez Johnson, he's going to go through the ups and downs of being a rookie. Sterling Shepard, he's not the same guy he was with the Giants. He can be good in spurts, if he's playing 30% of the snaps. But if you're trusting him to play 70% of them and throw the ball 8 times to him, that's not really a good blueprint. And I think at least this week, when you look at it, the blueprint has to be establishing the run game early. Like they can't go without, if it's 1st or 2nd down, Shawn Tucker needs to be on that football field. Maybe Rachaad White, if it's like a 1st and long or a 2nd and long, but you want to establish it, be physical at the point of attack. That's how you're going to win this game.
Bucs definitely need a lot of their big-time players to return. And one thing everyone needs is to go to Walk-Ons and have a fantastic time in one of their 3 Tampa Bay area locations. They have one in Wesley Chapel, another in Midtown Tampa, not far from where I live, not far from Raymond James Stadium, and another in Lakeland as well. They do catering. If you have some events coming up, holiday parties are coming up around the corner, they can do catering for you as well. They got a starting lineup sampler, which is fantastic. Tons and tons of appetizers and drink locations as well. Some of the best happy hour deals too, including tonight. If you want to go to Walk-Ons, they got a lot of TVs. If you want to watch some NHL or Thursday night football, they have it from tonight, 9 p.m. until close. They have from 3 to 6, so you can still make it in time. But if you want the full happy hour, you can go from 9 till close over at Walk-Ons. Again, their food is fantastic. I was there recently, and no matter what you get, I mean, the wings I had were great. I've had pasta there. I've had burgers. I've had chicken sandwiches, stuff like that, chips and dip, all different stuff. But yeah, don't sleep on the wings either. I know there's a lot of great wing places in Tampa. Walk-Ons has some fantastic wings as well. So eat like a winner, drink like a champ over at Walk-Ons. Definitely be a great spot to go to for the Saturday after Thanksgiving. That's the college football rivalry week. You got Ohio State, Michigan, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Auburn, Alabama, all the great rivalries in college football. That's a great time to go over there as well. So make sure you check that out. Also, make sure that you pay attention to more of the content that we have coming up. We got the Pewter pregame show that will take place on the morning of the Bucs-Rams game. So Sunday, November 23rd, that will be at 9 a.m. Eastern, talking about all the best and biggest storylines and matchups for Bucs versus Rams. And then much, much later that night at 8:20, we'll have the Pewter Game Day show. Myself, Daniel Morales, will be given play-by-play for Bucs at Rams, hopefully talking about a Bucs win and Bucs game-winning plays, touchdowns, all that good stuff. We keep it super interactive with everybody in the chat as well. So that'll be the Pewter Game Day show at 8:20. And then into the wee hours of the night and probably the morning on Sunday night and Monday morning, myself and Scott will be on for the Pewter Post Game show, recapping Bucs at the Rams. So yeah, make sure you stay tuned for that. I know it's late, but we also have very passionate, hardcore Bucs fans, so hopefully we'll have a good amount of you. One thing I didn't mention, and that's because we're going to give them a shout out in just a moment, is that we're going to have the Pewter Insider tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. That show is exclusive for Pewter Platinum and Premier members. We're talking about the biggest need on the Bucs defense. So this is our bonus show at 1:30 for Pewter Platinum and Premier members specifically. So it's probably a good time to give a shout out and a thank you to all of our Pewter Platinum members. We cannot thank you enough for all of your support at PewterReport.com. So thank you to Scott Federico, Scotty J, Rachel Gordon, Noah Parr, Dave Anderson, Eric McMillan, Hezo813, Ash Fishpool, Joel L. Rican, Sam, John Dale Morris, Zap Brannigan, RP89, Kevin Thomas, Mario Thomas, Leighton Carter, Brandon Riley, The Guy is Gifted, Alec Bickler, Nick Dubuque, Dominic Tarantino, HK Bucks, The Real Maverick, Brayon Pinkney, Brian Shucker, Black Gold 1999, Stephen Toole, King James 813, Fear the Crew, Henry Gigante, Robert Mackin, Todd Pittner, and Giles Dowden. Thank you to each and every one of you for your support at PewterReport.com. That is awesome to see. And a reminder, we have the Pewter Post-Game Show. Not the Pewter. Well, we do have the Pewter Post-Game Show. But the Pewter Insider at 1:30. Also, we've had some new people either sign up to be a Pewter Report YouTube channel member or have recently leveled up into higher membership. So we also want to say thank you very much to our new Pewter Report channel members who have recently joined, rejoined, or leveled up. So again, a shout out and thank you to Giles Dowden, Stubby Ryan, T. Kearney, John Barlow, Ricky Camacho, Ryan S., Kevin McDowell, Zach Jarvis, and Keita Villain. Thank you all so much for your support of Pewter Report TV. And, we'll give a shout out to our Premier members as well. We'll let that go along the ticker tape as well. And we have a super chat to get to. Thank you to Mopar Buck for this 1999 super chat. We appreciate it. Who says, why is Grizz not using Ibuka like the Hawks are using Jackson Smith in Jigba? His passing concepts could be much, much better. It's funny how other teams can get the ball to their number one receivers, but we use the double excuse, move your number one around. I get what you're saying because I feel like we've had this conversation before with Mike Evans where it's like, it'll be a week or two where Mike doesn't get the ball a ton. And we're like, hey, why isn't Mike involved? Like, can you get Mike involved more? And Todd will be like, well, he's getting bracketed. He's getting doubled. And then Mike goes out and has a huge game. I think Mopar Buck, you make a great point with, other teams only having one stud, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is a great example with the Seahawks. I will say, 2 games ago, Emeka Ibuka had a great game against the Patriots. He had over 100 receiving yards, had a touchdown in the game. So he was heavily involved there. He did have some drops against Buffalo as well. There still should be ways to get him open a little bit more, and maybe that's just kind of a learning experience for Josh Grizzard. But week to week, I think we'll see some great Emeka Ibuka games, some other ones where he's a little quiet. Makes me wonder if he can stay out the whole season as the rookie of the year, because Tet McMillan from the Panthers has really brought it up the past couple of weeks as well. But I think it's a really good question.
Yeah, and I think Emeka Ibuka has been a really dynamic weapon, especially with deep balls. He's really good when Baker Mayfield is looking to make big plays happen, because Emeka Ibuka has had so many touchdowns this year. But I think there is a way, and I agree with you there, Mopar Buck, to manufacture more touches, because the Bucs have done it for years with Chris Godwin. If it's like, a little slant, like a 7-yard play, a 9-yard play, I think there are ways to get Emeka Ibuka involved, especially when you look at it. When he was drafted as a first-round pick, his calling card was versatility. The ways that they were going to utilize him, to get him touches, was to move him into each different wide receiver position, playing on the outside, playing in the slot. He can do both. But also, you also have to remember, he's still a rookie. And as good as he is, there are going to be games where, maybe things aren't clicking. Maybe he drops a pass or two, or he gets targeted 13 times, but, catches 7 of them. There will be missed opportunities. Like, I was looking up Jackson Smith-Njigba. His rookie year, he had 628 yards. Emeka Ibuka's already surpassed that. Like, he's had a really good rookie season. And I think in the coming weeks, you will see Grizzard utilize him and try to find ways to get him the ball more.
Yeah, because it's only been a couple of games. Like, Chris Godwin's missed a lot of time. But remember, like, Mike Evans was supposed to be back, and they're supposed to, have situations where Mike's the top guy and Emeka Ibuka is playing the second receiver. But now that game plan has had to readjust pretty quickly. And again, they scored over 30 points. So it's not like they were just stagnant on the offensive side. They were moving the ball. Now, obviously, over 200 rushing yards will certainly help with that. And that's most important to this team. But I certainly see your point. I know I had a prop bet for Emeka Ibuka to win Rookie of the Year. So I definitely would love for him to get the football. So I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting game for the Bucs on Sunday. They need to punch back. They are in dire straits the way that it's gone. But just one more reminder for everybody. We're going to have the Pewter Insider for Pewter Platinum and Premier members tomorrow on Friday at 1:30 p.m. The Pewter pregame show is on November 23rd. That's Sunday at 9 in the morning. Then Sunday night, it's the Pewter Game Day show, November 23rd at 8:20. And then the Pewter postgame show right after that, probably around half an hour after, not long after we hear from Baker and Todd Bowles. So there's the scheduling for the rest of the week. I'll have Pewter picks and props out a couple different times for Thursday night and college football, and then the Bucs game as well. I think Scott's going to have either Pewter Pulse or his other show, the Sunshine Show, coming out. Pewter Positivity coming out at some point over the weekend. So still a lot to pay attention to. We'll have stories on pewterreport.com as well, which is why, if you're not already doing so, please make sure you're following us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report. And our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video as well. Tell us what you think is going to happen in Bucs versus Rams. We'll have our Pewter predictions out tomorrow, which you can read on pewterreport.com. But until then, for Adam Slavon, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everyone, for watching today's show. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you soon for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Peace out.
Out.